Hello, my name is Ryan, and I am a student on the Winter 2021 CANOSP project working on Review Board. So this is my final demo in a series of 3 where I will be showing how all of the projects that I've written this semester end up as one complete feature. So this is a quick rundown of my first project called Output Wrapper, where we basically are going to be wrapping around any sort of output that a command is going to be outputting. And with this, the most important thing is that we can define our output stream. And if we don't want the command to be outputting anything, we can disable it by setting our output stream as none. And so this is very useful for the eventual project that I finished, which is Json Output. And so what Json Output does is instead of outputting a string for human readable format, we are going to be outputting a machine readable format as a JSON object. And so this is very useful for commands that are being automated so that you can get feedback for your RBTools command. And we can see that there are basic methods here for adding a new key value pair to our dictionary and for appending a new value to a list if we have a JSON object with a list in it. And we also have a method for adding an error that works even if the error key is not defined, because the first error will define the key for us and initialize that list. And these two functions are taking advantage of Python's JSON library, which we are basically going to be converting a Python dictionary into a JSON output using json.dumps. And here, print2stream method is taking advantage of our JSONify method in order to print it to a output stream, which in most cases will be standard out. So here in the command class's global options, we can see that there is a new JSON option. And what it will do is when enabled, it will disable standard output and instead output the outputs of a command as a JSON object. So here in run from arg of the command class, we can see that during the lifecycle, if any command errors are caught, they will be added to our JSON output as an error. And at the end of the lifecycle of a command, we will be checking if there are any errors defined, and if so, we will define the status as failed, otherwise success, and then we will ultimately output that JSON object to stream if the JSON output option that we saw earlier was enabled with the command. So we can see an example of this with a command like RBT status, and this will give you a table of all of the summaries for the work that you have been doing in a repository. And so we can see that this is a nice table with status, review request, and branch. And so if we wanted to automate this and get the results back and be able to query and parse through it, we could do something like RBT status and give it the JSON option. And now you see that instead of a nice table, we are going to be outputting a JSON object where we're giving a status of success. And then here's the summaries, which is a list of different JSON objects. And we can see that this information is the exact same as the table above, but now using key value pairs and a JSON format, we can easily parse this in our code. For a quick rundown, we can see that we're going to be first initializing an empty list for this summaries key. And then as we iterate through all of the summaries, we're going to be defining a new dictionary and adding our information to that dictionary. And then at the end, we're going to be appending this summary to our current existing summaries list. We can also see that we are using my previous project's standard out, or the output wrapper here, to give it the strings to draw. But instead, if we're using the JSON option, it will set this standard out to none. And so this code here will not actually produce anything in our terminal. Here we can see the test that I've written for my output wrapper, which includes initialization and properly writing different kinds of strings. Here we can see the test that I've written for my Json output class, which includes initializations, addings, appendings, and all the other methods that exist inside of my JSON class. So if we put this command and we run through all of the tests, we can see that they all pass, and we can see that here we have the JSON output classes tests passing, and we can see here that we have our output wrapper test passing as well.